This is Digital Domain, one of the world's leading visual effects houses. And in 1995, they took on the challenge of bringing the futuristic vision of the Fifth Element to life. They created the terrifying face of evil. They produced thrilling space battles. They gave Leeloo life itself. They built the breathtakingly beautiful Floston Paradise. But the heart and soul of Digital Domain's work on the Fifth Element has to be their spectacular creation of New York City.
Fifth Element was my first project as a visual effects supervisor. I started at Digital Domain and was assigned the project and flew to London to meet with Luke.
Once he met the director, visual effects supervisor Mark Stetson realized the best way to create a New York of the future was to build it in miniature. While the models were being built at Digital Domain, the actors were filmed against green screens at London's Pinewood Studios. One of the first scenes to be shot was Corbin Dallas's conversation with his Thai food delivery man.
Our department had built a full-size set piece for the Thai ship that was mounted on a motion base controlled by motion control.
And actress Milla Jovovich also had to respond to a city that wasn't really there.
An important example of why I'm on set during photography is to make sure that shots are framed in such a way as to allow for the completion of the work. One example is Leeloo rounding the corner of the building just after she's escaped from the reconstruction lab and she's seen New York for the first time. We had to be very careful where the camera was placed for that shot to allow for the inclusion of the view down the avenue to infinity on the side of frame where she wasn't.
The ledge provided a perfect setup for Leeloo's legendary leap. Milla Jovovich performed the very first part of the fall herself. But a stuntwoman was brought in to perform the iconic overhead shot.
Well, I think Luke's idea was that when Leeloo jumps, that time slows down. It's this sort of magical moment.
To set up a shot like that, we had the airbag actually in a pit in the floor of the stage, and the green screen stretched over the top of the airbag. We had a camera mounted to a rafter of the stage, using as much height as we could.
And that I happened to be the operator that was on the camera that was shooting the master shot, the down shot. And she made that jump, and after a certain point in the fall, she turns over so she lands on her back.
Everybody at the exact moment of impact all let go of the green screen so that it would collapse into the airbag and safely let her fall and absorb the shock.
The look on her face was ecstatic because she knew she'd nailed it. And I knew from looking through the camera that she'd nailed it.
But unlike the stunt girl, Leeloo just keeps on falling.
The shot of Leeloo speeding past camera after she's leapt from the ledge was done using a fast camera dolly track with a descender rig to pull the camera back from her as fast as possible, pulling back between her legs to simulate her speeding through space. But in fact, once we tried to cut that in, we realized that her action was too dead to justify that moment in the film. So we sneaked in a little digital Leeloo for that moment as a replacement for that which had been photographed.
Corbin's cab interiors were also shot at Pinewood, and Leeloo's crash through the taxi's roof led to the roller coaster-like cab chase. To shoot this scene, special effects director Nikki Alder had mounted a full-size taxi on a massive whirling gimbal. Milla Jovovich and Bruce Willis were in for the ride of their lives. For those people unfamiliar with New York cab rides, this isn't too far from the truth. For the cab exteriors, Stetson's team built 4-foot-long models, which were filmed with motion control cameras. By the time the visual effects team returned to Digital Domain, miniature effects supervisor Niels Nielsen was ready and waiting with an awe-inspiring miniature of New York City.
after all our studying and researching and working through the previses, we eventually arrived at the fact that we needed a New York on this stage, 70 feet deep and 40 feet wide. It was 9 months, 60 people, sometimes 6 days a week. A lot of work.
You sometimes have to say the word miniature with a little smirk on your face when you know that you're filling an 80-foot stage completely with model buildings.
22 feet was an average for the size of the building. Some were shorter, some were taller.
The filmmakers knew that for New York to be instantly recognizable, it would have to retain its most representative architecture.
Mark basically said that he wanted it to look like it was New York. And to do New York, really, you're talking 30s, 40s buildings.
We had a crew of about maybe 8 painters who essentially worked continuously, get that sense of reality, get beyond the curse of something that looks like it was just completed in a model shop and get it to that point of believability, which is it's a big step.
But believable it was. And when Stetson's team started to see the finished shots of New York, they almost couldn't believe that these buildings were miniatures.
There's a certain sort of gleeful anticipation to seeing shots composited after you've been generating elements for them for over a year sometimes. It's like Christmas to see those shots go up on the screen.
But compositing the Thai ship presented some challenges.
Luke was very skeptical that we would be able to see the ship sailing off downstream into the traffic stream as it left the window, and wanted us just to have it sail straight across camera.
But Stetson convinced the director that by decreasing the size of the ship as it turned, the desired effect could be achieved.
It took him several iterations of comp to demonstrate that the shot would actually finish better sailing downstream than straight out from the window.
Corbin and Lilu were also transported from the Pinewood soundstage to Digital Domains Manhattan. The compositors came up with some cool tricks to make the New York exteriors look totally realistic.
We use tricks like depth of field to make the background look like it's out of focus. We use tricks like overexposure to look like we're exposing for the characters inside the car, and so we make the exposure of the background higher to look like it was just blowing out. Tricks like that really sell the photography or make it look to the viewer like it's a real shot.
Even the New York cops got to move into Digital Domains' miniature city.
Whoa.
After months in London and almost a year in Los Angeles, it was wonderful for the visual effects team to see all the New York shots come together.
Models are always fun to look back to. You always have a sense of pride about a project as large as this that you've done. And the models are really beautiful for this film. It was really fun. Some of the designs are really quirky, and that almost adds to their charm, which is great. It's wonderful.